So,
Look,
it is.
before you
Oh, there we go.
Before you start, is this working? Look, I have really achieved something
He stole the line
today.
from me anyway. Okay, here we go.
I've got a Wheaton bow tie.
I want to know, I had requests from students that you bring extra bow ties this time because when you spoke in my class last year, you gave a bow tie to a student.
Gave one away today as well.
I had requests for
But
extra bow ties.
I'm
that
not
fell through the
giving
cracks.
away my Wheaton bow tie.
You know, I
went through great difficulty to get that.
So I debated including a question about why it is you love Wheaton College so much. So let's just start there. Where does this deep well of love for Wheaton College, where does that come from?
Is Dr. Tony Payne here? No. Well, one day I was director of the International Centre for Reconciliation at Coventry Cathedral. And I was told there's a man called Dr. Tony Payne who has to see you. I said, who is this? What's he want? You know, he's some kind of musician. I said, I know nothing about music. They said, he is the director of the Conservatoire of Music at Wheaton College, which I obviously knew about because I'm intelligent. So he wanted to perform Britain's War Requiem here at Wheaton. And that War Requiem was written by Sir Benjamin Britten for the opening of the new Coventry Cathedral, which was destroyed in the war on the 14th of November 1942. So the choir sang Britain's War Requiem here, and I came over, I spoke at the ceremony. I presented Wheaton College with the four-sized cross of nails from the roof of the cathedral. And Wheaton officially, none of you know it probably, but Wheaton College became part of the international community of the Cross of Nails, committed to reconciliation. I came to Wheaton College and I fell in love with it. I had never been to college like it in my life. I came back year after year after year, and each time I come, I love it more than the time before. It's really great. I even got a really good Wheaton hoodie today. I got a Wheaton shirt yesterday which was all grey and wasn't orange and blue. And I really don't like orange. But I even have socks which are orange now. I have blue and pink socks and a blue and pink bow tie, a blue and orange bow tie. So it kind of grows on you. And I realized that this place actually provides a totally unique education. I must admit, I'm a Cambridge University graduate, and I teach at Cambridge. I'm a fellow of one of the colleges. But I have a problem. I love Wheaton more than my alma mater.
So what my opening line was going to be was, I had the privilege of interviewing Canon White last year, and I found it to be a great privilege and a bit of a challenge. Well, that got stolen from me. So here's the opening question I wanted to ask, and I think it's probably best that I just direct this towards Dr. Sarah first, because otherwise I'm not sure if she'll get in.
It's okay.
There you go. See? I felt a little bad saying it, but now my
I
point.
may have been an anaesthetist, but she is a dental surgeon. So she causes pain, and I get rid of it. Isn't that right,
that's a
Sarah?
theory.
We discovered that this week.
So I almost hate to ask this question because we're enjoying so much laughter right now, but can we start off by just getting a general sense of the state of affairs right now in Iraq and Syria and in the refugee camps in Jordan and Lebanon?
Well, this is a very big question because, in general, the political situation as it is in Iraq is very bad at the moment. There's a lot of rejection from the people toward the government and resentment because of the amount of persecution that the people are feeling from the government as it is right now. There is no electricity, no water, and that's not even talking about ISIS or the refugee crisis. When the IDP, the internally displacement happened because of ISIS, people thought that it will take few months and it will end. Now, almost 2 years after, and it's still happening, and it's getting from worse place to even worse. Now there is a little bit of reformation happening in the government because of a lot of protests that are happening internally in Baghdad in the central government. But again, there is the central government and there is also Kurdistan government, which is the northern part of Iraq, ruled by Kurds, who are kind of still in a clash between themselves. And also with ISIS coming to the game, there is a lot of tension on the government and that again on the people. Of course, we all know what's happening in Syria, and ISIS still mainly in Syria and Raqqa, and in Iraq there are less areas are actually dominated by ISIS, and they're all moving towards Syria. The refugee crisis is horrible. In the beginning of the crisis, there was 2.8 million internally displaced. Now there is over 4 million. And that is there is over 2,500 area where there is displacement or people who are displaced inside the country and inside Iraq only. In Jordan, there is over million refugee now, and including Syrian refugees as well. And the Zaatari camp, one of the biggest camp in Jordan, is one of the worst camps in the Middle East right now. Not talking about Turkey and Lebanon, which has a lot of refugees as well.
When you say the worst in what terms?
It is very close, so nobody's allowed in and out. And the situation inside the camp is very hostile as well. So in Iraq, for example, the camps are very benign and it's open, so you can get in, out, and even with the more restricted area, if you get an approval, you will get in just fine, and even without approval. But in Jordan, the Zaatari camp is very restricted to the point that you cannot get in or out of the camp.
Now, are you still living in Iraq or in Baghdad, or are you now? So you are still in Baghdad.
Most of the time, because of the kind of work I do, I travel, I jump around between one place to another. But I would say most of the time, because of the intensity of work in Iraq itself, in the northern area where the displacement is, and where most of the refugees and the displaced people are, I would say most of my time is actually in Iraq itself. But it depends. So if I have to be Jordan, Lebanon, Turkey, Iraq, America, UK, it depends on where the work is I have to be.
And Ken White, can you talk about the work you've been doing with the refugees and the work of the foundation, again, the Foundation for Relief and Reconciliation in the Middle East?
Well, our work was predominantly originally in Baghdad. And there we not only run the biggest church in Baghdad, we also run a clinic and a school, and we had a very big infrastructure. of helping people who were living in really a difficult crisis. But that was heaven compared to now. And I used to also look after the US Embassy Chapel. And the US Embassy Chapel was great. I have told this story 3 times today. But the first Easter after the entrance into Iraq in 2003, I was there a long time before. But we gathered around Saddam's swimming pool, and we had an Easter service, a sunrise service, and a baptism service. And Saddam built a very good baptistry. He didn't know it at the time. And all of the army around me, I got talking to them, and they were all wonderful soldiers. And they said, Canon White, we need to tell you something. All of us are from Wheaton. All of us are Wheaton men. I said, will you remember what's it called, the RTC or something? They were all reared here. And there they were all great soldiers. And that was the beginning of a situation whereby every chapel I ever had in the embassy, there was always one person who was a lay leader who came from Wheaton. It's quite funny how, around the world, who would have thought Wheaton would have played such a big role in my life in the Middle East? I look even down here on the first row, and Danielle, a great friend who I met in Jerusalem not long ago. And I regularly teach your students at the Jerusalem University College, whatever it's called, it changes its name. And always the Wheaton students come up to me and say, we're Wheaton students. So that means you're going to be kinder to them. And that person next to Daniela, I call her Chaim Rivka. Her name is actually Zoe Rebecca. She calls me PB because in the days of my medical days, on my doctor's badge, it said Andrew P.B. White, Dr. Andrew P.B. White. And all my little patients used to say PB stands for Paddington Bear. So they all called me Paddington Bear. And I met Zoe, which is her Greek name, not her Hebrew name. I met her when she was about 7. When I used to come to Wheaton, I used to go and speak at wacky conferences called the Chicago Hub. And I got talking to her, and we became really good friends, and we always had lunch together. And I said to Zoe, look here, I'm going to tell you something. When you leave school, you've got to come and be an intern with me and come to the Middle East and come and live in England. But then you've got to go to Wheaton College. And that's exactly what she did. It's good, that, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry about that. Now, it was very good having you come to our Jerusalem School for Reconciliation last summer.
I was glad to be there.
Yeah, it was really good. Which of your students are coming this year?
Well, I am glad to see that quite a few of my students are in the audience tonight. What? Yeah, raising the roof here. I will actually let you know, this is a statement that for if you were my 175 class, the sign-up sheet's out there for those getting credit. But we'll have the blessing of having you in my Middle East politics class tomorrow. And
good.
yeah, you can let them know all about it. I see some of my Middle East politics students in here as well. No reason to root from you guys. So I really want to bring it back to the refugees, which you're both working so hard to bless. And can you tell us specifically? I'll start with you, Dr. Sarah, because you are a doctor. I just play one in the classroom. About what the particular health needs are for them, and Ken and White, if you could speak to what you see as the spiritual needs.
So I'll tell you, just to go back to the first question you asked that Andrew didn't answer. You are not allowed now. I'll answer it.
Hashtag she said it.
So I'll tell you just a kind of a brush on overview of the kind of work that we would do with the refugees actually. So what we do is that we are kind of divided in the Middle East. So we do work in Iraq, Jordan, Jerusalem, a little bit in Lebanon, Turkey. And most of our projects are kind of holistic. We have a holistic approach, especially with Andrew being present, so he can, as you said, deal with the spiritual part and the other parts that we kind of deal with, which is the medical relief, we have educational program, and we have living assisted or livelihood assistant.
Intravenous lines as well.
Yeah. And then, okay, so for example, in Jordan, we have a school for the Iraqi Christian refugees. It started very small with 100 students. Now we have over 250 students, and they are fully educated. They will take the exams, and they will get certificated for it. So it's really good. It's very productive as well, because most of the kids, they didn't even have opportunity to go to school because either too expensive, too far, or they just weren't allowed to go to that school. We have a clinic that we partner with. So all the refugees, we take them by buses. We have a list. So we get them to the medical center that we partnered with, and they get treated for free. We also get them living assisted, which means we rent houses and old hotels that are not used, and we rent them for them to live in. And with Andrew being present, he would go have services with them, he pray with them. So this is the kind of work that we do with the refugees in Jordan. In Iraq, the situation is a little bit worse with the refugees and the internally displaced. So we have a broader spectrum of projects that we deal with. We do have educational programs. So we have a school that has 30 students, also Christian school. We do some schooling project like Christmas school, Easter school, intensified course to get all the kids from the camp. So it will have more students coming, but on a shorter time. We have health programs, so emergency health, dental hygienic program, educational program. We have relief projects, so for food assistance, emergency food assistance, NFI, non-food item, in association with other organizations that are working in the camp. So it's a little bit on an extensive level. We have project to help the girls who have been trafficked, who have been abused sexually by ISIS and got brought back from ISIS, to bring more healing to
and that's
them.
A really horrendous issue.
It is, and maybe I'm saying it now kind of like just going through it, but it is like it's serious issues that we are working with to kind of bring back healing or at least help in the process. We have projects to help the refugees to go back on their feet, start small businesses. So it's just kind of business project to kind of for sustainable, to bring a sustainability to what's happening. Because as it seems, nothing is going to be resolved in the near future. So this is the kind of project that, at least on top of my head, the list is way more than that, but this is kind of a brush on the kind of work that we are working on. The medical need we have, for example, with the medical project that we do, we have an ambulance that runs between the camps in Erbil area. So if there's any emergency, our ambulance would go bring them back to the hospital and back and forward from the hospital. Most of the need that we see, for example, before the winter or when there's like very cold weather or hot weather, there's a breaks for lice and scabies. And that's when I'm saying that, it's like hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people would get it. So kind of getting this kind of medicine, chronic medicine illnesses, is kind of big thing because it's very expensive to obtain the medicine for them, or the people at least, because they don't have the money, so they cannot get the medicine. So this is the kind of medical need that is being juggled, between some organization that are like the WHO or the IMC, or smaller organization like Free Me, us, or others, but
and there are extremes in weather.
Oh, definitely. Because
it goes from icy cold, snow, rain, to temperatures which, in real language, 60 plus centigrade.
Yeah, it's very hot.
Yeah. In American language, 140 plus.
Yeah, we can reach 120 easily.
I'm surprised about the snow.
Yeah, well, because it's a mountain area, and most of the displaced area went to the north.
Because you're talking about in northern Iraq.
Yeah, because most of the displaced people went to the northern Iraq because it's the relatively safer area. So it's very high, and it's normally cold. So there is, especially in Dahuk, it becomes snow comes, and when rain, and most of the camps are not like graveled or grounded, so it's just mud. In one of the camp, there was even like a snow sand effect on the, like a quicksand effect on one of the area, and kids kept disappearing until we found that this quicksand area was kind of swallowing the kids down.
I mean, disappearing, dying.
Yeah, they died. Yeah.
It's not disappearing. Oh, we can't find Sam.
We found out about
Sam
it way
is
too
gone.
late. Yeah.
And I spent Easter Day in the camps, or amongst them in the north of Iraq. And I was with the Yazidi community, which isn't Muslim, isn't Jewish, isn't Christian, isn't monotheistic. And this is one of the most hated communities in Iraqi culture, because they were seen as the devil worshippers. They believe in God, but they said that they knew that God was good, but the devil was bad. Therefore, you must never say anything against the devil, because he might get you. So it's a bizarre situation. But all of these young people and families were living in a hen shed. There was a hen shed for thousands of hens, and they all ended up living in this shed. 12 families. Don't know how many children. And I took them all bags of candy, and they were so happy. They said it was the first time since they were deported from the Sinjar Mountains, the first time in 2 years that they had had any happiness. And that's just a small example of how we have been able to show people love and showing all these people real care. When it comes to the school, and it'll be good to see some pictures of the school, and it'll be good to see pictures of the Lord's Prayer, if you've got that. But one of the families I went to, their father had been killed by Daesh, ISIS. And the little boy was called Mario. And I said to Mario, we'd got the family rent for their house, we'd got them food, and I said, Mario, I know I can't bring your daddy back. Is there anything else I can do for you? Mario looked at me and he said, can you do two things for me? He said, can you be my daddy? I said, of course I'll be your daddy, Mario. Then I said, what's the other thing? He said, we're not allowed to go to school here. I need school. And in 3 weeks, we started a school. We did everything from scratch. And we used to have a school for 5 days a week. But Iraq is no longer in the news, and the money has been falling. We used to need $146,000 a week to run, but then it went up to $1 million a month, and the money isn't there. So school now is only 3 days a week, but it's extra hours. So as regards the cost of busing everybody into school, it's a lot easier for us to cope on 3 days a week. But wonderful, wonderful things about the children, the school, is that absolutely, totally ordered. And all the children come in and they stand in a straight line and they stand absolutely perfectly. They look like the Marines. And they have one hand out and they're all in a straight line, one arm behind the child in front. And they sing in Aramaic before school starts, at the end of their playtime, and before they go home. And I think you should see this now. And you will see that all the children in their uniforms, they all have bow ties, because Abuna has a bow tie. It's not Wheaton colours yet, but they're all in red bow ties. Can we see it? Isn't it wonderful? I'm in class 5. And after the last long vacation, I said to the headmistress, I said, am I going up into class 6 this year? And she said, no, Abuna. I said, why not? She said, you didn't do your exam. You're going down to class 4. Now, class 5 had a student riot. Do you know what they did? They went to class and they wouldn't stop singing the Lord's Prayer. That was as much as they could riot. And it's great to be able to function. And we not only teach these children, but we look after the healthcare, the food, the housing for every family of every child. So we try and have a holistic approach. Now, we have a little nice rivalry between my Jordan lot and their northern Iraq lot. And, you know, it's quite difficult when suddenly you go up to their school and their children are as good as yours, and they've even got bow ties, which are nicer than your ones.
Yeah, but Sarah always wins.
Sorry?
Sarah always wins.
Sarah always wins, yes, you're a woman.
So she is.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest, I have a few more questions here, but I really want there to be an opportunity for you all, whoever have questions, to come forward. So we have 2 microphones here, so you can queue up if you have any questions for Canon White and Dr. Sarah. Please come forward, and I think I already see people coming up because, like, if not, I have a few questions I could fill the gap with. And can you say your name and, you know, either your year if you're a student or whatever your affiliation with Wheaton is?
My name is Lisa Evans, and I'm an alumna of 2011. And I had the opportunity of going to Germany with a group of people from my church to serve Syrian refugees. And one thing that we heard stories from, we met both Christians and Muslim refugees from Syria, and Iran and Afghanistan. And just hearing from a young Christian man and his fear of living in the same camp with Muslims, and overhearing some more of the radical Muslims, not all of them were as radical, but some Muslims like saying how they wanted to, in detail, how they wanted to kill the Christians that were in the camp. And there was just, again, that's not all the Muslims, but there was that tension of Christians and Muslims being in the same living area, and that tension. And I was just wondering what you guys have done in other refugees camps to promote that, in the name of Christ, to still serve, but promote that unity and take away fear from the differing religious backgrounds from people in camps.
Thank you.
Well, okay, so there's 2 kind of camps. There's the Syrian camps and there's the Iraqi camps. And it's way different. It's very different than each other. The Iraqi camps, there's mixed camps and there's separate camps. So there's camps that are only Christians. All of them, they are Christian. And there's camps that are only Muslim. There's camps that are only Yazidis. And there are mixed camps. In the mixed camps, sometimes there's problem happens. Most of the time, they don't. At least this is in my experience in the Iraqi refugee crisis and what happened of the displacement of Iraqi people. I might be a little biased, but like Iraqis, they are very well, they work together very well, right, Andrew? Even a Christian Muslim, they are
Very
really
well.
loving toward each other as people. And I mean, there's in any community, there's a lot of problem that happens, especially in such a harsh situation and a very survivalistic, you know.
Mind you, it was very interesting. seeing what some of their reaction was to having you, as a Muslim, working for Christians and protecting the Christian refugees.
Yeah. Well,
But we overcame it.
Yeah, the thing is, I have never heard of a situation where someone feared or somebody heard that they might be hurt. I know that one camp that has all Muslim families and only one a Christian family. And we actually went and asked them if they want to be kind of placed somewhere else or go to other housing, and they refused. They said, no, we lived with them and we are coming in this crisis together. So it is a little bit, for me at least, this is not my experience. Maybe that was true in that guy's case.
There are problems.
In Turkey, there's a lot of persecution toward the Christian, because Turkey, as it is, there's a lot of persecution happened historically toward Christians, and it still is, and toward Kurds as well, but not in Iraq. That's not my experience, so I'm sorry that I didn't answer your question, but that's not the experience that we had, not even in Jordan. It what? Syria, yeah. The Syrian refugee camps are a little bit, the situation, the Syrian refugee camps is very hard. I still didn't hear, especially in Iraq and even in Jordan. As I told you, in Jordan, like Zaatari camp, it's the worst camp as it is. There is some killing happened and like fights that led to people killed, girls been raped, girls been kidnapped inside the camp. So there is these things that actually very harsh that is happening, but it's just because of the kind of camp that it is, because of the restriction that the government put on the camp itself. People cannot leave, people cannot get in. But in Iraq and in the northern area of Iraq, the camps are more open. The people can come in, out, they can go to the markets, the local market. In Jordan, they cannot even leave. They cannot see the inside of Jordan. So these things happen, and more, killing and plotting to kill somebody, probably it's more prone to happen in such camp, but not in the general
And most of the people in Jordan are not in camps. Most of the Iraqis are living in the communities. The Syrians, on the whole, not on the whole, a large number, are living in actual camps. But the Iraqis are not classed as refugees by the Iraqi government, and they get no support at all. We provide all of it, and some other agencies, like Samaritan's Purse, which has good Wheaton connections.
Differentiate between like the Syrian and then like the Iraqi refugee crisis. So thank you for clarifying.
So I have another question here about what do you see? What do you see are the Foundation's plans for the upcoming year or the years to come?
Well, that's a good question. And I think one of the big things is that in addition to all of our relief work, we are very committed to working in reconciliation. One of the most exciting projects that we worked on in recent couple of years, Iraq and Israel have been the major aspect of my work. So I thought, why don't we have a conference of them both together? Have you ever thought of going to Ayatollahs and telling them they ought to meet with chief rabbis? And ever thought of going to rabbis and telling them they should meet with the Ayatollahs? All they told me was how this couldn't work, it would be impossible. We couldn't meet in Iraq or Israel for a start. So, you see, in our work, we realize it's not what you know, it's who you know. So we started working on the friendships with these people. And so we got alongside the Ayatollahs and the Islamic leaders and the rabbis, and they all agreed to come to a meeting in Cyprus. After 3 days of meeting together, one of the chief rabbis said, "We've been here for 3 days. I've only got 3 words to say. Fear is cancelled." One of the Ayatollah's people said, "I didn't want to come here and meet these evil Zionists. I thought they would be terrible. And then I came here and I heard their story and I looked into their eyes and they became my friend." Two of the really key people in that whole venture was Dr. Sarah and one of the rabbis called Rabbi Michael Melchior, who is the chief rabbi of Norway, former foreign minister of Israel, and an Israeli rabbi. And this year, the foundation presented its major Peace Prize at the House of Lords in London to Dr. Sarah and Rabbi Melchior together. Well, they're good, wasn't it?
Yeah. And part of our plan as alongside, like as a whole, we are kind of this year, we are thinking about working toward reconciliation and not leaving of course, the emergency relief project that we are doing, the immediate relief that we're doing, but also, for example, this year, for the Northern Iraq at least, the plan is to work to create more sustainability in the project that we are providing for. So creating programs, educational program, centers to teach the women how to, some small trades like how to sew using the sewing machine, or use it like simple skills like laptops, like internet and stuff skills like that. Creating a plan to start an art project to help with the healing, starting a small room in one of the camps for to bring musical instrument to help the who is willing, use music and play a musical instrument. So, and more toward education, so schooling, all kind of educational program, not leaving any kind of relief project that we're doing, but focusing on that, on creating businesses, small businesses, helping the refugees to stand on their feet.
And continuing to work at bringing the political and religious leaders together,
Yes.
both from the Iraqi and the Israeli side.
Oh, yeah.
It's really exciting work. And we've got another one of the reconciliation scores happening, which you came to last year, Doctor. And we know that we're going to increase the opportunities for engagement in serious reconciliation.
It actually sounds like a lot of your work really focuses on, again, you just touched upon the two. One is reconciliation, bringing different groups together, but also a lot of focus on education. Dr. Sayre, I've heard you say numerous times of helping start businesses, but also seems like a lot of your work really is focusing on children.
Teaching
Yeah.
That's true.
Preparing for the future.
Yes. Because we feel that actually the hope for the future is in the children. If it's if the children in the camps or the people who are the refugees right now, we feel that, you know, focusing on them, providing them with a proper education, especially that they cannot at this point, they cannot go to school, they lost everything, they lost their home, they are, you know, living in camp, living in horrible situation. There is not even, they don't even have the will to be educated. They don't have the will to go to school and study. But enabling them to be able to do that is kind of part of you know, it's close to our heart, because we feel that they are, you know, the plan for the future.
So I have further questions, but please feel free anytime to approach the microphones if you have questions. Dr. Sayre, when Dr. McGraw was introducing you, he noted that that you began a campaign of encouraging Americans to write letters to Iraqis. Can you tell us more about that, how you developed that idea, how that was received?
It was a simple, like, social justice project that I was working on, which is essentially started as a letter campaign. So exchanging letter from Americans, between Americans and Iraqis. And it was just, it's not like a pen pal or like between one person to another, but actually from an ex-American person without names to an ex-Iraqi person. And why I started this project is because I've been to America many times, even like before working in this kind of line of work. I came to peace initiative, peace in action talk and things like that. And I've met so many American people, and so many of my friends are American, so many of my supporters are American. And I kind of like, it is for me when
But you'd never been to Wheaton, had you?
No, I never been to Wheaton.
No.
I'm guessing you'd heard about it, though.
Not really.
Really?
Sorry.
I really don't know how you could spend time with Andrew and that didn't happen, but that's impressive.
I felt that it's kind of unfair that there is such a clash between the Iraqis and the Americans because of the war, because of the media, because of the history, and how the Americans are perceived because of the media again, and how the Iraqis are perceived to the American because of the media as well. So I kind of saw the good in the both sides and how good both sides are, and I felt that we are actually the same. Yes, the culture is different probably in so many aspects, but in so many more, like we have more in common than we have, the differences are very little. We all want a good life, we all want education, we all want money, love, better education for our kids, better life, all that. It's the American dream is not only the American dream, So I thought that maybe by exchanging letter, the Iraqis would sense that, would see what I see, on a human level. And again, when I bring back letters from Iraqis to Americans, I would feel the same. It was very much, I was very welcomed in America when I was, talking about this project, going to camps, going to schools, going to, organizations, talking about it in events, and I got a lot of letters. Way too many letters, and
but one of the other things which is slightly similar that we started was a bracelet campaign, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we got children to make bracelets, beaded bracelets, and they first made them in America and sent them to Iraq. And then the children in Iraq made them, and we sent them to the people in America. And they were all different colors, and they had the words in friends. Yes. And that's been a wonderful way. And all of our children have their bracelet. But our people in Iraq, none of them are allowed to earn any money or work. And so we got them to start a really good project of making these little black bracelets with 12 knots, and we all wear them all the time. And it reminds us to pray for them. They're black, it reminds us of their suffering. And yet there is the cross, which reminds us of our hope. And Sarah even wears it. Who would like this one?
Came to me.
Oh, you got to wear two. There's another one here. Let's see how this goes. I'll give you a few afterwards. But one of the little boys at school, I always give away these olive wood crosses from Bethlehem. And we take them and we gave them to all the children at school. And one of the boys started crying. He said, I wanted a cross for my daddy, but Dash have killed my daddy. And every time before I go on a trip, like before I came here, I ask the children, what should I tell the people that I'm going to see? And every time they tell them Jesus loves them. Tell them thank you for helping us have our school. And the little boy who didn't want his cross for himself but to go to his father, he gave me his cross a few weeks ago. And he said, will you give them my cross? I said, I'm not taking your daddy's cross. You kiss that every day before you go into school. But I promise you that wherever I go, in every place I speak, I will give them a cross. I will give one person a cross. And I always ask God to show me who should have the cross. And it sometimes has quite a significant effect. The other day, I was doing the Easter service in Westminster Abbey for the British government. And the cabinet was sitting on the front row. And one of them was the Minister of Welfare, Ian Duncan Smith. And God said to me, give him the cross. I gave him the cross. And I had been speaking that day about how Easter is the fact that we live as a Easter people in the glory of God, but in a Good Friday world. And we must never forget that we have to meet the Good Friday needs. And the next day, this minister resigned after getting his cross. And I'd like to think that he was challenged. He had just come out of our budget. And he said, how can I, as a Christian, take away from those who have nothing? When I came in here tonight, I met an Ulsterman. Where's the Ulsterman? This cross is for you. Come on. Ulster has suffered brokenness and reconciliation like almost no other country. Ulster has got lessons to teach all of us. I hope and pray that you may teach us as well. But as I said to him when he came in, the most important thing about Ulster is that they have the best shortbread in the world. Be rather good to have Wheaton Ulsterman come and work with us, wouldn't it?
Yeah, why not?
If you want a job or an internship in a few years' time, we're willing, open, ready. I think you'd be quite good in the war zone, but you're a big shot.
I don't know where Peter is, but I think he just got fired.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't.
He can be.
Could you talk about the intra-Muslim conflict? I'm thinking of Shia versus Sunni.
That's very interesting because until the invasion of 2003, there was very little evidence of conflict. People didn't say, I'm Sunni, I'm Shia. But Iraq had basically been under the oppression of a Sunni minority, and the Shia majority had been oppressed. And now the Shia majority have oppressed the Sunni minority. And you can see that one of the key things in any terrorist organization is when people have lost everything, especially power, and they come back showing force and blowing people up and destroying. Dr. Sarah is a Muslim. In all the time I've worked with her, has she ever told me if she's Sunni or Shia? Never. Never. She says, I'm a Muslim and I'm here to serve everybody. So, but she's very odd. And she's very, very strange. Now, when I found her in New York, I discovered that she was at a conference with Jews, and Iraqis hate Jews. And I said, Sarah, what are you doing? She said, I'm working at peace with my Jewish friends. I said, why are you doing it in New York and not in Baghdad? She said, I'm not going to Baghdad. I said, what do you mean you're not going to Baghdad? We need peacemaking in Baghdad. I said, what's your professional background? She said, I'm a dental surgeon. I said, it's very interesting that, because I have a peacemaking centre and a dentist. I have my own dental surgery and health centre. And she said, very good, nice. I said, will you come? She said, no. I said, will you come for 1 week? 1 week. She reluctantly said yes. That was 3 years ago, and she's not left.
Why haven't you left?
I saw that coming. Because there's still so much that I can offer, I guess. And
You are offering.
yeah, but there is still that I have to do. Yeah.
I have a question about the situation of the refugees in the camps where you guys serve.
Can you say your name?
Yeah, sorry. My name is Hank. I'm not really connected to Wheaton, just from the area.
Well, then thanks for being here.
Yes, thanks.
Welcome.
Thank
As
you.
we would say, ahlan wa sahlan. You're welcome.
I think I'd have to practice that. I was wondering about the situation of the refugees in the camps where you serve, especially as to what their, how they plan for the future. Are they, many of them, hoping to leave their country and, for example, go to the West, or are many of them, happy to settle? Are they trying to settle in the country where they are, or hoping, to go back to their home soon? I'm curious as to how they are in their life.
So the majority of the okay, so there is a division. There is the Christian who have, the most of the Christian want to leave the country and go to Western countries because they feel they lost everything. When they lost the land, Nineveh, they felt that they kind of, they lost hope in everything. And there is the Yazidis who are leaving actually mostly to Germany, and most of them are leaving and they want to still leave because their land or everything that they know got destroyed. And there is the Shabak, other religious minority, and the Muslim who are still in hope that things will get better. And Iraq is all they know. They have no idea what the West look like. They are most of the people I serve, at least in the camp, they are very low class, very simple people, not very educated, most of them. So there is a hope that they will go back. And also there is a Christian who are mainly from Mosul itself, from Nineveh itself, and the Syrian Orthodox Christians who are still hoping to go back.
Such a difference?
I think it depends. So, for example, Christian who are from Qarakosh, which is one of the Nineveh Plain villages, they are very much attached to the land, to Qarakosh itself. So they are very proud that they are from Qarakosh. They like it so much. When it got destroyed, when I'm saying destroyed, that they destroyed it to the ground. They destroyed all the churches. They destroyed all the holy places. So when ISIS destroyed it and kind of violated that place, it kind of, the people lost the connection that they had to the land. So, and in general, the Christian, even in the Middle East, they are more connected. They think they are more connected to the Western countries because the Western countries are majority of Christian countries, so they are more connected to them. They think that they will be more welcome here than in their own home country. I think that's the reason. At least that's when I talk to the bishop or to the religious leadership. That's their explanation to me. And for the people, it's just because they think that they lost everything. They want a better life in the Western countries or in the West or anywhere is better than Iraq.
One of the boys that I adopted when he was young, Dawood, it was quite funny. He got really into the American army and all the soldiers were his best friends. And when I saw him, all he'd talk about was, "Roger that, come on." And I found him sleeping in a Bradley. And it wasn't an armoured car, it was a Bradley. And I said, "Okay, Dawood." Anyway, Dawood has come back and done some work amongst the refugees with us. But amongst our Christian refugees, we were different denominations and quite split. We had Assyrians, Shori Christians. We had Chaldeans. We had Syrian Orthodox Christians. We had Presbyterians, only one church. But all the time, Christians were very much, I'm Assyrian, I'm Chaldean, I'm Orthodox. Since this persecution, there are no questions about denominations. All Christians just say, we are Messiah. We follow the Messiah. And that is incredible to think that ecumenism has come through the terrible suffering.
So sorry but just to elaborate one more time, is that situation then similar among the Syrians that you work with in Jordan?
The Syrians, no, it's quite different. It is quite different. The Syrians still hold very much to their religious tradition. But things are quite difficult in Syria. I was supposed to go to Syria this week, but I couldn't because I was going to Wheaton instead. But, you know, that president of Syria, I used to work with him. I anesthetized for him. He removed the cataracts, and he was no good at doing that either. So he became a president.
So for those who aren't aware, the current president of Syria was a eye doctor?
Eye surgeon.
Yeah, he was an eye surgeon until his father, who was the president of Syria, died, and then he never expected to become president. His older brother was the heir, and his older brother then died. So the current president, Bashar al-Assad, went from being an eye doctor, and apparently not a great one, and who was living in Britain, to now being the president of Syria. Please.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I was just wondering what drew you, Canon, and you, Dr. Sarah, to the Middle Eastern conflict, because I know that
What? Sorry?
Basically, I know that you're British, and I know that you might be from Iraq. I was just wondering, like, what drew you to, like, northern Iraq or Israel? Like, why did you specifically choose the Middle East as your vocation?
Me?
Well, both of you.
Well, she did because she was born there. I did because I did my second doctorate in the role of Israel and Christian theology. And one day, God told me to cross over the Jordan, and I didn't want to. So, is it good being called Sarah?
Love
Yeah.
Sarah, my name is Jennifer, but I'm a Wheaton alumni, and I'm an educator here in the suburbs, and I have the opportunity to teach in a Yazidi camp this summer. I'll be teaching English for ages 5 through 15, and I'm so excited that you guys are here, and I was just wondering if you have any advice or suggestions for me as a teacher.
Here or in the northern Iraq?
In northern Iraq, in Dohuk.
You're going back?
You're going there?
I have never been there. I'm so excited.
Great!
Yes.
We'll come and see you!
Thank you, please do. I would love that.
I go on a monthly basis to Dohuk because I work with the girls who survived ISIS who have been brought back.
And they're there.
So we'll meet there. I'll give you
That
some
sounds
advice
great.
Who are you going to work with?
I'm working with an organization called English Language Institute China. They're primarily based in China,
Yeah.
but they're branching out into the Middle East.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited.
Yeah, you should be.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any suggestions, any recommendations for me?
Yeah, we'll take you out for a good curry,
Okay, good.
and we'll take you to the best chocolate shop in the world, Abu Afif,
Food and chocolate, that's him.
and we'll take you also to visit the Christian worshipping community. We love the Yazidis, and it's very interesting that the Yazidis are not monotheistic. They're not Jews, Christians, or Muslims. Have we got that picture of the Yazidi camp from Easter Day? Where's Peter? Come on, where are these Wheaton men when you need
I
them?
think you fired Peter.
So are you coming to the north, Andrew, again?
Yes, of course I am.
Problems.
Problems.
That sounded tentative.
Yeah, so we'll meet you. We'll
Well,
take.
actually, before you start, so can you even specify like just so they can really, because I think this is so wonderful what you're doing, and I want you to get blessed in that. Can you specify the type of advice you're looking for as opposed to the broad?
Yes, I'm mostly looking for like educational advice for interacting with the children, for interacting with the people, for building relationships. What advice would you have for me?
The thing is, I am not sure. What is there a specific people you're working with?
The Yazidi.
General, I know the Yazidis, but like people who have been captive by ISIS or just normal people.
I believe it's in a refugee camp, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure
I know.
on this.
They are all in
why they're
refugees
there.
camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so
Find out why they're
in general, they are very people. Because I work with them as well, and they speak a different language. It will be really hard, but there is no better language than love. So I'm sure that they will sense that in you. They are kids especially. They are very friendly, and I don't think that you will have a lot of problem concerning the kids. I wouldn't give you actually, especially with working with the kids. There's no specific advice that I would tell you. I have never had some difficulties, even with the Yazidi kids, to kind of just showing love, giving something, which you are giving, which is you are educating them. That will be just fine. They'll love you. I'm sure they will.
And take them a bag of candy or a bracelet.
I was wondering, I teach students here in the States, and they're in third grade, and I thought maybe it would be neat for them to write letters or to make something to give to the kids that I'm working with.
Things need to be quite pictorial.
Okay.
Because they don't understand anything that children from here write. Mm-hmm. People write all these letters, and they have no
pictures?
Significance.
They
With
have,
pictures,
they
yes.
still have. Everything has significance. Believe me, even letters, people cherish it a lot because if you explained it to them, people cry. People, keep it. So it is anything. If anything, will be really important to them. Especially those we're talking about people who lost everything. They have nothing. But be careful. Because if you give something to someone, they all have to have it. Especially kids. Yeah.
And don't give any money.
I'll keep all money to myself. Thank you very much.
You'll now be one of those Wheaton people that we find all over the world. So thank you.
Yeah, but just make sure that I give you my contact. Okay?
Hi, my name is Tina. I'm from Michigan, and I just want to remind you Hope College is right up the lake. There may be some hope up the road.
In Holland?
Yes. Holland, Michigan?
Do you have anything to do with Hope College?
I had a daughter who graduated from Hope and a nephew who graduated from Wheaton.
Well, can I be honest with you?
Please.
No, just say no.
Just say no, because he knows what I'm going to say. I love Hope College. I can never compare it with Wheaton, because Wheaton is Wheaton. But chapel at Hope College is the best wacky chapel service I've ever been to. But Chaplain Blackman today and I were talking about things, and Wheaton is going to be better.
Okay, so
So can you ask Hope to invite me back?
Not trying to start a rivalry. I will ask Hope to invite you back. I know you were there for the Veritas Institute a couple of years ago. My question is to you, Sarah, and also to you, Canon White. Clearly, you have a fabulous education, and I don't know if you received your education when Iraq was calm, cool, and collected, or if you went elsewhere to receive that education. I have a lot of interest in facilitating girls' education in places that have been disrupted by hardship, by trafficking, by anything you want to name. And I am wondering if there is any opening in the United States for Christian colleges to say, we have a mandate to minister to women whose educations may have been interrupted. Now, I did hear you say you met a lot of people in camps who are not educated, but I have a hard time believing there are not some young women whose lives have been turned upside down, education has stopped, and my understanding is that an average length of time once you enter a refugee camp is approximately 17 years. So I'm wondering if Christian colleges in the United States have an opportunity to minister to women possibly in that way, if there could be a certificate program or some type of coming alongside and providing them a place of rest and a little bit of healing and further education, and then re-leavening their own home communities.
We've got some of our refugee girls from our church in Baghdad who are working with us in Jordan. I think of one girl called Mabel who's been with us all along. She is a brilliant young lady. She was studying Russian at Baghdad University. She speaks fluent English now and is the administrator of our school now in Jordan and of our clinic in Jordan. And they are waiting to go somewhere, but we don't know when. Out of our hundreds of refugees, thousands of refugees in Jordan, 5 families have been rehoused overseas, mainly to Canada and 1 to Australia. And the one who's gone to Australia was a brilliant physician. He was an epidemiologist. And just today, I got an email from him. He said, "Father Andrew, I've left my heart behind. I thought it was great, me going to Australia, but my heart has been left behind."
In the camps, there is, as I said, there is. I have seen some girls who left school or left college, but most of the people who send in from that area, who send their girls to school, they have a little bit of education. Okay, the family as a whole. So a lot of them left the camps, pursued somewhere where the girls or their boys and girls are continuing their education. I would, for example, I would see nothing, I would love to see such a program where we can assist those girls who wants to continue their education, who are in the camps are not being able to come or see some of the Christian colleges that can help them to do that. But I don't think that will be a possibility, and I don't think that I cannot say that, oh, I see this happening, or, let's do it, because I can do that, it's on your part, it's not us. But if we talk about the willingness, I'm sure that there is a lot who are willing actually to do that, who are willing to continue, the girls who are willing to continue their education, because simple things, when the UN in the camps, building the schools, the school facility and buildings for schools. The girls are going to school, to continue their higher education, or like not higher education, the high school, and the boys as well. So there is willingness if we work to give them that or provide it for them. Can we do it in Kurdistan? No. Because there's so much politics comes into play. There's so much, problems internally in Iraq itself between the Kurds and the Arabs to be able to let the refugees use their schools. They don't even let the Arabs use the schools or the universities, let alone the refugees or the IDPs.
Would be on the schools in the United States. So the germ of the question is, in the U.S., if Christian institutions said, we see this as an opportunity to minister, should they go for it?
I think so, yeah. I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Brent, our final question.
Canon White, Dr. Sarah, thank you for coming tonight. My name is Brent Westergren. I'm a junior here at Wheaton College, and I'm actually in Dr. McCoy's Middle East politics class, so I'm excited to see you again tomorrow morning.
Good.
My question is in reference to the state of the Iraqi government. Both of you having lived in Iraq before the U.S. invasion in 2003, would you say that the government now is in fact more oppressive than it was during the reign of Saddam Hussein, or not? Dr. Sarah, you mentioned that there was a great deal of oppression against the people currently.
The problem is that we always say that. The problem is that before the war, before 2003, there was only one Saddam, and now there is 100 of them. Everybody wants to be him, and everybody is oppressive in their own way.
And corrupt.
And corruption is just normal now. We breathe it. There is a huge division between the Kurdish government and the central government in Baghdad. There's a great division inside the central government in Iraq and also in Kurdistan itself. So in Kurdistan, between the PKK and between the Barzani, which is the ruling government now, between the Barzani government and the Talabani, who are the liberal party, and they are fighting over the government. And then we go to the middle. There's the Sunni and the Shia. And I know one of the, I think the man there asked about the Sunni and Shia division. And it's huge. And it's now so much, the gap is so big that, the country itself fell into it. And now the government is horrible. I'm not saying that Saddam was better. I'm not saying that, but it's not better now. And it's not democratic. And it's it is way worse than it was before.
I used to go around Baghdad in the old days, and I used to think this is terrible in the Saddam days. Now you can't even walk around the streets. There's no way. Things are so bad that you just can't even do the normal things.
Baghdad was one of the most beautiful capital in the world. The education, the level of education was very much, respected, and now it's the worst city and the worst in Iraq, and Iraq the worst country, but Baghdad is the worst city in the whole world.
It was the most incredible. And Dr. Sarah won't tell you this, but one of her great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers was the one who built it. Wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually something I expect us to pick up tomorrow in my Middle East politics class. So for those of you who are in that class, look forward to that. But before we thank our guests for coming, I want to thank the Center for Applied Christian Ethics, and particularly I want to thank George Fiegeloff, who really was the one who brought this all together. So please join me in thanking her. And now let's all once again thank our guests, Canon Andrew White, Dr. Sarah Ahmed. Yeah. Standing ovation wave. I'll do the plug in a second. Actually, I'll do the book plug when we're done talking. And if you want to truly give him a standing ovation and bless Andrew, take a look at his book outside, My Journey So Far. Pick it up for a friend. Thank you.